Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Stories of Awakening podcast. Today, I have with me Mars Amante. They are a psychic medium, healer, and animal communicator. So, thank you so much for joining my podcast.
I'm super excited to be here. Your mission with the podcast resonates a lot, so I'm grateful for this experience with you.
Thank you so much. And funny story, I know you know because I emailed you about it, but I found you at a coffee shop, your business card at a coffee shop, and I really felt the call to contact you. So I just very randomly did it, and yeah, here we are.
That was honestly very exciting for me to hear because those business cards, like you cast them out, but you're never sure if you'll hear back or what opportunities will find you. So it was very validating for my path that you reached out, and that was how. Also, love Insomnia Coffee. They're amazing.
I know. I like working from there. So yeah.
Oh, same. Wow, that's so funny.
Amazing. Okay, so I would like to ask you maybe if you want to share with me and my audience your story and how you arrived to do what you do today, and then we can dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, for sure. I think to start the story from the beginning, I've always been what I say is a lifelong witch. I've always been very attuned to nature, kind of the kid that's like sitting by themselves at the park talking to the trees and the animals. And a lot changed for me when I realized that that was something I could do professionally. Like I could just be myself for a living. And so I left the 9 to 5. I was doing like project management. I left all of that about 6 years ago. Moved to Portland, Oregon here. About 3 years ago. And I started my business when I got here. And moving over here, I was in such deep alignment with the world around me. I had more access to nature and wildlife and more what I call my people and a sense of community. And that kind of encouraged me down this path where I started leaning into my natural gifts. And I've been growing my like psychic abilities, my mediumship for years. And I finally was just able to put myself out there. And yeah, it feels really amazing to just be myself, like in all aspects of my life, and then to have made that my profession. But what feels the best is how much fulfillment I get from the work that I do, kind of bringing harmony and peace and connection to families. And that includes our furry, scaly, feathery creatures in our families. And I just love kind of being a guardian for the animals or a voice for the voiceless. Just brings me a lot of joy. It feels like soul purpose things. So I'm just like that weird kid talking to trees, but now I do that for a living.
It's so amazing that you say that because I remember that I was talking to a specific tree when I was a kid in Italy on my backyard. It wasn't even my tree, it was my neighbor's tree. And I was staying there for hours, kind of conversating, like chatting with the tree. And I thought, because nobody ever explained to me that we could communicate with trees, I thought it was just my imagination, I was just making it up. And maybe I don't know. But it's interesting that you say specifically talking to trees because
Mhm.
it's actually what I remember as well when I was a kid. And then I completely forgot and I lost any kind of connection that is starting now again. Now, funny also that you moved to Portland after the awakening because it's the same thing that happened to me. I'm actually from Italy originally. I lived in London, in England for many years. And then I found my husband now that actually was living here. And so I moved here very recently. So yeah, there is probably a calling for people that are very connected to nature or want to do this type of work around here. This is what I feel.
I definitely feel that in the mountains and the trees and the air. I have met really cool people that have traveled from around to be in this area. There's definitely something special about the PNW. And I love that you have this natural connection as well. And I say that I have these gifts, but I do believe that everyone has this connectedness. We're all a part of this network. And like you said, it is just about remembering who we are, remembering what our roots are, and tapping back into that. The toughest part of my journey was just battling the self-gaslighting and the, "Oh, is this am I making this up?" But when I learned to just trust what comes up for me, everything changed. Like, if you think you saw something, just believe that you saw it. And if you look over at an animal and you immediately have a thought come to mind, just trust it and follow it.
Mhm.
And once you can really nail that down, listening to your body, listening to your intuition, it really does open up a whole new world of awareness around you. And we can tap into the magic and the energy that we all come from and return to. So I love hearing your journey, and shout out to all the little witches growing up who are just making potions with leaves and sticks in their backyard. Those are my people.
It's good to find them again,
Mhm,
throughout our journey. Yeah, you realize you're not alone, we are not weird, in a sense. There are other
mhm,
people that are doing the same. And I really like what you said, that I also believe that we all have some sort of gift to connect to one
mhm,
another and to nature. And it can be different for everyone, but I truly believe that we can communicate to everything that is alive. And of course, these things are not taught at school. And so, and also very discouraged. So, not many people maintain that
mhm.
skill. And so I was wondering, how did you so you never lost it? Or there was a time in your life where you lost it and then you discover it again for something that happened?
It's an amazing question. So I was definitely naturally connected in my younger years. Like, all the stories from my mom and grandma were just me in the yard talking to fairies. And I remember just exploring the woods by my house. Like, it was very innately a part of me. But then as adolescence kind of began to set in, my life became more turbulent and stressful. I was in the public school system, which is a whole trauma in and of itself. I was in an area that wasn't serving me and surrounded by caretakers that didn't know how to meet me where I was at. And so I did kind of compartmentalize these parts of me. And I say sometimes I was to myself, like they couldn't beat everything out of me because I was still the weird kid that would spend their time daydreaming or talking. It just became internal. It
Mhm.
wasn't some, I learned it wasn't safe to express it to the people around me. So it just became my own inner world that I would get very lost in.
Yeah.
But then after leaving college, leaving an abusive marriage, I had this point where I had to meet myself again and kind of come back to myself. And as I started that healing journey, which began, I believe, with like body image and just loving my body, and it kind of was a domino effect from there. But
Mhm.
once I was able to meet myself again, it blew everything wide open for me. And now I feel more myself than I ever have. And I also feel more like my inner child than I ever have. But definitely like middle school, high school, college, and even building up in elementary school, you see how you're different from the people around you and you learn to push things down to survive and to be safe. And so a lot of my adulthood has just been letting myself feel safe no matter how I'm showing up and making sure that I'm around the right people and in the right environments, which is why I moved from, the Southeast, the Bible Belt, to being in the PNW where it's not scary to say outward that I'm a witch and
Yeah.
these things. So making my reality match my internal world. Uh, and I'm sure a lot of people go through a similar journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, you know, there might be some people that get stuck with kind of resentment or anger towards, the family they grew up in and the environment generally. But I feel there is a purpose in what we go through as well. And probably I personally can say I wouldn't be able to relate to many people if my journey was super easy and smooth and,
It's
uh,
true.
I would definitely probably prefer it. But if I want to live with peace of mind, I can also find a meaning in, understanding why I had to push down my gifts, what, the level of awareness in the collective, at least when we were
Mhm.
younger. Now I think it's completely different.
Definitely. And I've learned the more that I can love and accept myself and extend compassion to myself, the more I can do that for others. I understand why my caretakers had a hard time with me based on the lives that they had, even though I come from a line of, like, I don't think they call themselves witches, but they're definitely witches. My grandmother talked to plants, and my mom talks to, it comes very naturally to us. Uh, but there's all these societal factors, capitalism, colonization, these things that kind of beat these ideas out of us. And now we have a collective that is very far from themselves, very divided. I was just meditating this morning thinking my grief is ancient because we're so far from the ways that are natural to us.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're all on this journey and extending compassion and seeing, especially knowing that humans are just animals, that gave me a lot of empathy. We're all just scared animals doing our best. So, what you can do is just work on your own journey, be a light in the world, hope that the right people and know that the right people will see your light and it will help them to light up. And then we just kind of heal the collective by healing ourselves and letting that energy just spread. It is tough though to be to be in a world that oppresses differences.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, as you said, it's intergenerational thing, it's not just um our parents or, the generation before us. It's something that, if you think about the witch hunts and all these kind of things that happened long time ago, I think we are still feeling the consequences these days. So there is a lot of witch wounds. I talked about it in
Mhm.
another podcast, but yeah, there is a lot of fear of showing up with this kind of intuitive gifts because people were persecuted for this, and not just
Mhm.
women. Witches could be also, there were also men, mainly women, but
Yeah, the vulnerable.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I understand that is a collective wound, and we are healing it. And as you said, I really see the ripple effect. The more
Mhm.
you are in your power, the more you are accepting who you are, you can start seeing maybe not the immediate family because also I think they have a specific role, but sometimes they also happen there. But I think around you, you will start to attract people that are similar to you, or even people that are your longtime friends that said, "Oh, maybe I can start doing what I want as well." And
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
really see, yeah, is a ripple effect.
and we have now the gift and the curse of the internet where we're more connected than ever, which is a beautiful thing, this information and this connection. Um, just a tool that has its own issues too, but I'm grateful there's more connection now than ever, and I really do believe that the hope for the world returning to itself. I've been hearing about like the new earth, but I feel that that is just it will just be a return to the ways of our ancestors, the ways of indigenous peoples, and just a remembering, the great remembering across our collective consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this time we bring technology and AI with us, but like everything, they can be used for good or bad. But I'm sure that if we integrate AI, we work with their nervous system and together with nature and we reconnect all together, we can actually live in harmony. So I really do believe that is possible. And we are
Mhm.
at the very beginning, I think, of this
Oh yeah,
journey
no,
of coming back.
and that nervous system healing, I'm so grateful to see awareness of that is kind of on the rise. A big part of my practice and how I help people is to establish and heal the mind, body, soul, emotion connection. And understanding the nervous system is such a foundational part of that. And until you're able to do that and move through life from a regulated place, it so much is closed off to you when you're stuck in flight, fight, freeze, fawn, all the. So when you're
Absolutely.
able to tap in, regulate yourself and sit and be mindful in the moment, again, that's where so much magic around you opens up.
Yeah.
And we're, yeah, I've really played with the sense of urgency these days. And that's again, capitalism, colonialism, this sense of always having to be on the go, always having to be out of our bodies, out of the present moment. So,
Yeah. I finished recently a course in nervous system regulation, and also it's called biofield integration, but it was really amazing. Like, this teacher lived with tribes in Africa, and he basically learned a lot from them, and he's bringing this to the West. And he said that's natural way of connecting with people. It's not just talking, 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 it's not from the mind, just the connection. It's actually from the nervous system to nervous system. And that's how healthy tribes actually live in those places still now. They are connected to each other. They actually feel each other. They help each other process emotions, and they are connected to the environment around them. So, and they don't have to use many words. They actually feel, when things happen,
Mhm.
that's what they feel. So, yeah.
That's something I actually learned recently from some crows that I've been befriending. They just said humans talk so much. And it really made me think like words are spells and incantations. And I think they're meant to be very intentional, very purposeful. But now we're at a point where we're talking just to fill the space, and we're talking about things that don't matter to our soul, our integration. It's very interesting to see when you can come to a moment of stillness and quiet, how much you can then see and hear and have space for.
Absolutely. And again, I don't think it's anyone's fault that people are, we are all so much in our minds. And I don't think we received the kind of attunement that we needed when we were kids. So instead of feeling stuff in our body, we went into the mind and start to, think about things and solve problems from there, because that's what we received. There wasn't really an attunement with, the nervous system, the biofield, to what we actually really needed. So
Very true.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it is. When my teacher was talking about these things, I felt them so true. Like this is what I always wanted, like connecting with people, not necessarily just with words, which are beautiful and we can use them since we can speak.
Mhm.
Really feel each other is the most important thing. And yeah, many people are afraid of feeling, I think, because we don't know how to process emotions. Nobody ever taught us. So
Mhm.
um, that's what I realized.
Interesting in the West as well too, we just have generations of traumatized people that don't know, and, if I'm being honest, we glorify not having emotions and keeping a positive mindset and not ever feeling our grief and just time helping us to get over things. So, of course, we're not teaching our kids with things that we weren't raised with ourselves, which is also why I love the rise of gentle parenting or respectful parenting. And that's actually been a huge part of my own healing journey, was learning how to reparent myself. And then now that skill extends to people around me. When you think everyone around you is a hurt animal or a hurt child, and even in my workings with animals, so much of like child developmental psychology and working with patients and working to regulate, all of that extends into the animals that I've worked with
Oh,
and benefits them. I have actually a sensitive or reactive dog, and nothing helps him more than just sitting with him, rubbing over his chest, and just holding that space with him and calming him down. Like, and it's much quicker than some of the other methods I've seen, or even like fear or negative based training. So that
lovely.
that connection, that nervous system regulation, meeting ourselves where we're at, and meeting the earth, and it's all imperative.
Yeah. So my teacher was saying that do you call it green thumb here?
Oh
Green
yes.
yeah. So when you can take care of plants, he was saying people that say they cannot take care of plants is just because they didn't sit with them long enough, to understand how they work. But it's nothing complicated. You just need to sit with it in stillness and, learn how to deal with their nervous system because they have one too.
That's so true. So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Knowing the energy of the plant that you're working with.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Um, so can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and maybe the difference between mediumship and, you know, animal communicator? Like, what's yeah, I'll
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to know.
So the common thread between all that I do is going to be intuitive magic and just my own psychic opening or connection. I do have like most of the clair senses, as I think we all do, but I've worked to fine tune mine. So that psychic connection is like the common thread between all of the services that I offer. With the mediumship, I do that with humans and animals, just communicating with the deceased. I kind of tap into the energy of the person that I'm with, and people show up pretty easily. And what I found, especially with past pets, as soon as you think of them, they come to you. So I just kind of tap in and I hold it like a conversation. I get a lot of visual images. That's what comes to me the clearest usually. That and just feelings like that empathetic connection, and what I call, or I think it's called true knowing, where I can just kind of, you just know what needs to be said. The message comes through,
Yeah, yeah,
words without words or hearing without hearing, however you
yeah.
want to mystically try to describe it. Um, but those services, the psychic medium sessions, are very deeply healing for me, and something that I've seen and noticed many of us are trying to heal on our own, specifically healing our grief on our own. But healing was meant to be a part of the collective, which is what we were just talking about. And so I love with my grief work that I'm able to connect people and kind of be a bridge and help them process their grief, because many people have that idea of, oh, just time will make it smaller. The less I think about it, the less I have to deal with it. But, when you block out the hard things, you inevitably block out the joy and the good things. And
Mm.
I love to teach and practice continuing bond grief theory. Put offerings out for your dead, and leave out pictures and talk to them as if they're still there, because they are. And that was actually a huge part of my journey, was learning, like, no, you see it, trust that you see it. Like I said, trust what your experience is right now. Trust if you think you saw a ghost wink or a sign, you did, and believe that. And so I love helping people navigate their grief and navigate their connections in that way. And then with animal communication, again, it's just about that connection. We're bringing these creatures into our community, and they deserve to be seen as community members. So I kind of just get to be a voice for them. Sometimes they want to talk about their past. Animals carry core wounds just like we do. I see abandonment as a very common one with humans and animals. And, of course, humans are animals, so it doesn't surprise me that we're so similar. Um, but I do love, with the animal communication, I love troubleshooting husbandry issues. Your cat will tell you if they want their litter box in a different spot, and that can eliminate so many behavior problems, or what I would say undesirable behaviors, because the only behavior problems are things that you don't want to see in your house, and that's going to look different for every family. So I love helping new pet owners. Say you've never had an animal before, you give me a call and I can help walk you through the basics of their husbandry, kind of the right or preferred brands to use, things like that. I love just making sure beings and creatures are being cared for to the best of our ability. So that husbandry support's a big part of it. I also do like cohabitation support if you're trying to have new roommates, like you get a new cat, and you're trying to mesh and blend your household more. And just, yeah, I said being a voice for the voiceless. And honestly, it's unfair to even say that, because the animals have voices. We just have not been allowing ourselves to, or teaching ourselves to read them how they want to be read. And so I do also teach a lot of body language cues and things like that, to leave you a better communicator at the end of the session as well. But most people, you talk to your animals already. Don't second guess it. And yeah, the common thread there with the psychic connection, I kind of tap into the pets, and it is largely visual with pets. But again, the empathy and just feeling their feelings, and sometimes, depending on the animal, they are very mouthy. I'll get straight phrases from them. They're very talkative, but I've noticed that the way you pour into your pet and the way you communicate with your pet is going to have an impact on how they communicate with me. So I've had even skeptics come to me, but if you're not talking to your dog on a regular basis, why would they sit down with a stranger and suddenly feel like they can share their life story? So you see more of what you encourage. So talk to your pets even if you don't think you can hear them, and keep leaning into that. And I love helping people bridge that connection. I say that a lot, like I feel like a bridge for connection. But
Amazing. Yeah.
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 And we need so many people doing this job because, yeah, I understand why they might not understand their pets. Like, we don't understand ourselves. We are not attuned with ourselves or other humans that actually are similar to us. I can imagine how difficult for some people is to actually start to understand other species. So yeah, you're doing a very important job. Thank you so much. And I think
I
that's
appreciate that.
yeah, I think that's the only way forward. Like, really learning how to communicate to each other and try to be in harmony as much as we can.
Mhm. I've noticed, of course, ego is how we steer ourselves through the world very often, and people will see a behavior from an animal, and they'll attach a narrative to it, and
Mm.
then it becomes kind of more of a power play, when really a behavior is just your animal trying to get a need met. And so if I can come and say, "No, your cat is not being rude to you by knocking that off the shelf. They wanna sit there." It's usually such a simple thing or such a simple workaround, but I see how you pick this up and your cat knocks it over, and you pick it up and they knock it over, and it just feels maddening. So I do love helping to bring understanding, um, and yeah, just hearing those little guys out because 'cause they're a part of our family, they're a part of our community, and they do so much more for us energetically in our homes and even protecting us while we sleep and our dreams. They do a lot for us. So I am very grateful to help bring some of that awareness. But I will say I'm also very grateful that a lot of my clients have that awareness and are working on it. You know, it takes a certain kind of pet owner to want to hire an animal communicator in the first place. So I've loved a lot of the openness that I've been met with and how easy it's been to kind of step into people's homes and say, "Hey, here's some changes, here's the good things, here's the bad," and to just always be received by people that want to be doing this work. They want to be caretaking and be a guardian for their animal. So it's
That's
been really nice across the board.
amazing. Sounds the best job in the world. And
I agree.
do you have a specific, like a story that would be nice to share? You think about animals, for example, something that you shared
Hmm.
already, like the cat that was throwing the thing down, right? Just because they wanted to sit there. But maybe there is something that could help someone that has pets right now.
Oh, okay. I have an amazing story that just happened to me yesterday. Um, this is more about wildlife, but I can get into the pets as well. Because we were talking about not being taught how to be respectful of nature and how to show up in nature and kind of be a part of the animals around us in that community. And I was sitting outside yesterday, and I have a crow friend that will come and visit me, and I hadn't seen him yesterday, and I started getting curious about him, and another crow flew up to me, and it was a younger one, and he perched on the fence, and I got this feeling, this very sinking feeling that something was wrong, and so all of a sudden, I just pictured the road leaving out of my neighborhood and making a left, and I had at the time, I had a client meeting coming up in, like, 30 minutes, and I was thinking, "I can't just what, am I supposed to just leave my house and turn left? Like, I don't know what to do with this." And I sat there kind of self gaslighting myself, questioning myself for a while. And then an elder crow in another tree started cawing at me. And it felt very much like a call to action. So I just got up, I grabbed my things for my appointment, and I was like, whatever. If I'm late, I'm late. Clearly, I have to do this. This is a call to action. So I get out and I make a left out of my neighborhood, and then the next direction comes into my mind. And then the next direction comes into my mind, and I'm thinking, I don't even know where I'm going. Like, where is this taking me? And then I get an image of a park in my head, like a bird's eye from the top down. And then I'm supposed to keep going straight, and I get one more direction. And when I make that turn, the park came into view. And the whole time, every turn I was making, I would hear crows out in the trees, or one would drive right past, like fly right past my car. It's like they were kind of guiding me to this park. So then I get there and I'm thinking, where in the park am I supposed to go? And I see in my head a picture of a trail. And when I look up, there's a jungle gym and there's a trail right next to it. It looked just like it did in my head. I'm still like kind of reeling at how magical it was and how clear the images were. So anyway, I beeline to the path and I'm going down the path. And then I think, how will I know when I found what I'm supposed to find? And as soon as I think that, I see a black wing sticking up off the ground. And there's like foliage that came up to like the ankle or the shin, and he's kind of stuck in the brush. And there's some children around him all yelling. And one of the kids had some toy swords. And I'm like, oh no. And then I look up and all the crows in the area were just like screaming from the tops of these trees, trying to bring some awareness, bring some help. So at that point, I'm like kind of crying. And I go down the path. I get the kids to leave the crow, and it turned out being my crow friend actually. So I get them to calm down, get away from the crow because they were crowding it. And what I see now, it was just kids in a stressful situation and they didn't know how to respond. But getting them off the trail and away from the crow gave the crow time to kind of hobble away and hide himself. And then I stood there wondering if I should help some more because I'd found out from the kids that the child that had the swords, the toy swords, had actually hit the crow. Um, and so he was injured. I was very worried and thinking, do I take him to a rescue? I'm not sure what to do. But then the crows made it very clear that I had done my part. They summoned me to get the humans, get the humans out of the space. And the energy that I got, the message I got was just, you take care of yours, we'll take care of ours. And I still stood there thinking, should I do more? I can't just leave it here, hurting. And then an elder crow again started squawking and yelling. And I was like, okay, I get the message. So I start to leave and it gets quiet and the crows tend to their own. So then I went and talked to the kiddo and it was just an excited impulse. I study a lot of child developmental psychology, things like that. And he just had big feelings and a sword in his hand. It's really there's no more to it.
Yeah.
And then we talked about possible alternatives like hitting the ground or hitting the grass, just something else. And then I went and talked to his parent, and gratefully she received me because I said I'm an animal communicator and the crows called me here for help. And then as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, you never know who you're talking to. And there were two other people there. They were just kind of quiet the whole time. But the mom, thankfully, she was like, no, I'm open. I hear you. And she said she could tell I was very purposeful. And so I left the park, made it to my client appointment. And thankfully, last night, I actually prayed to the moon, just healing on the crow. And today, my crow friend did come to see me. He's doing okay. His wing, I think, is still recovering, but he asked me for some berries, and I threw the berries out and brought my cat inside, and we're just hanging out watching him. And they've been in high spirits today. So that was just a fun story that I couldn't believe how powerful our connection is. And it was multiple times where I was having to battle my inner voice, my inner self-doubt and self-gaslighting. But when I was able to, no, listen to the call. You didn't think of leaving the neighborhood and turning left for no reason. Follow it. And that took me to such an incredible experience. And I got to be an advocate for my community because those crows and those children were in my community. And it was just an amazing experience, and it did make me realize that I'm actually planning on releasing some content and some workshops on how to teach kids to interact with nature and how to have that bond and show that respect. Because even the kiddo, I said, what can we hit instead of like living creatures? And he said trees, and I was like, oh, I don't have the time for this now. That's like a 102 level. We're at 101 right now. A tree is better than a bird. But they just they were eager to collaborate. They were eager to know. And he felt bad. It's just an impulse his brain needed to get out. But if he had this understanding of nature is sacred, these are my friends, if he had that deeper understanding of empathy, I think that could have been prevented. And even how they responded once the crow was injured, they were getting more rowdy and more like violent feels like the wrong word, but honestly, it was kind of, media is a
Mhm.
anyway. So I'm excited to be releasing some workshops and some content soon on how to engage kids with nature. And this will help with adults too, because a lot of us we were taught that spiders are scary and now we scream every time a bug comes around us. But
Yeah.
those are programmed responses that we can work on, we can reprogram, and we can have a stillness and a calmness and a, do no harm mentality around nature. And I think the inclination, like I said, it's there in all of us already. And I'm excited to kind of show people, teach them how to navigate it because nobody taught us. But you see a snake in your yard, you don't have to go get a shovel. You know what I mean? And I'm excited to be putting more of that messaging out there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is an amazing story, first of all, not just a fun story. That was amazing. And that's how I would define follow your intuition. Wow.
100%. It was one of the most magical things that's ever happened to me, and really feel like I'm a new version of myself now, and I feel very grateful. And yeah, follow your intuition because you never know what will come of it in your career, in helping your community, anything. And to apply that to animals that we bring into our home. I was going to say house pets, but they're little creatures too. I
Yeah.
think listening to your intuition there too. Like I said, if you think your cat was trying to tell you this, go ahead and trust that. And but also have a mutual respect. Not all animals want to be like your baby. They want to be viewed as like another person in the household. Like they want to have the same level of respect that they're trying to show you. So the more, oh, my dog just sighed. He's like, yeah, we do. It's like you can respect me more if you let me outside right now. But yeah, just trying to prioritize their autonomy and prioritize having a respectful and mutual energy exchange with our pets because they're creatures too, and they have just as much sentience, just as much consciousness, just as much emotion. Um, oh, huge thing. Watch what you say around your creatures. Do not jokingly say you'll get rid of them, or maybe the neighbor will keep you, or oh, you're such a bad dog. Just really watch what you say because just like with kids, they hear that and they start to become that. If you speak that on them, you're limiting their potential. You're limiting how they're going to show up for you. And it kind of goes into our brains attaching a narrative to a behavior. You'll create the situations that you see in your life and that you speak on. So speak very lovingly over your animals because they don't have to be there and they're doing a lot for you. And it does damage the relationship, even if you're not seeing it or you don't think so. And some people it's like harmful jokes, but you never know if your animal has an abandonment wound or, you know what I mean, is self conscious about the way they look and you're making fun of them. Like
Yeah.
they're important too. So just be
Yeah.
kind and speak on them with love.
Totally. And, we all pick stuff up subconsciously. So even if you think and you don't see consciously what's happening, it's all in the energy around us. So absolutely, like your words
Mhm.
are your spells, really, they really are. And I think, like, say, people talk to plants, yeah, and plants grow better. And
Right.
you can talk to animal too, yeah. Do positive affirmations is amazing, I think,
Mhm.
strong and healthy, you're loved, all this kind of
That's so true. And honestly, how we speak to others is a reflection of how we speak about ourselves. So if you're being mean to your animal, whether consciously, unconsciously, or whether you're joking or not, chances are you might be being a little tough on yourself too. And
yeah,
so this radical compassion and respect,
yeah,
it's across the board important.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing the story, it's really amazing.
Thank you. I'm still reeling from it. Thank you for hearing.
Yeah,
I'll tell. I'm
we are coming.
assuming my great grandkids are going to hear this story every day.
And just know we are coming for your workshop. I have stepkids and we are coming. Like I'm teaching like more empathy. Let's not kill all the bugs that we see because they're actually alive.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, they just need to hear it. I thought it would be more natural for kids, but because of the society that we are in, I don't think they really lose it easily. And
Mhm.
as you said, a lot of emotions they don't know how to process. So we are working on all of that too as well. But I think it would be very amazing. So yeah, please.
Oh, I'm excited for that encouragement. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have maybe request if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, let's hear.
I we have a rat that is quite old. He had a long life and hopefully happy, but maybe you can help us understand if he had a happy life, if he has some last wishes. So I was wondering if you feel comfortable doing reading. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I would be honored. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Do you need a picture?
Yeah, a picture or if your ratto is there, but picture works just fine.
Yeah. I can send you a picture and I could even bring him here. Just I think I would be very distracted with
I
him.
was gonna say, yeah, let him rest. Let's see if
Yeah.
we can check this picture out.
I sent it on
Oh, what a cutie pie. Oh,
Giddy name.
you said what's his name?
Giddy.
Giddy. Oh, there's a lot of a love of soft, comfortable things. Like I feel like he really likes to be curled up in soft blankets.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I immediately thought of like celery, so I don't know if it's celery in particular he likes to eat or if it's just like crunchy, fresh things.
Ooh,
It's really just a snack vibe.
interesting, because I've been giving him fresh fruit and vegetables recently. Well, for a few months now, not just his food. But it's good to
Yeah.
know.
He's been loving that for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought of a wheel, but it's not that he has a wheel. I think it's that he likes to be lazy and don't joke about him needing to exercise more. He's enjoying.
Okay.
He likes the
That's
the soft, lazy, restful life.
Oh, that's an amazing thing, because I is old, I was saying, so he's struggling walking a little bit, and I was thinking, does he want more time out of the cage now, or he wants to rest more? So thanks for saying that. So it's okay if he's resting.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of like grass and sunshine. So if you were able to rest with him outside, but I know some mice are very sensitive, or rats can be sensitive to the sunshine, and I'm sure you'll be aware of that. But
Mhm.
fresh air and outside time, I think would be great. But the overall, it was big feeling of like just cuddling up in a warm, fuzzy blanket and resting there. And I'm definitely getting lots of contentness. I think there is an awareness that he has that he's kind of nearing the end of his life. I see that with most animals. They're aware. They grieve and they feel things. But it's pretty simple for him. There's no, like, worry. I don't sense any acute pain or anything like that. It's just kind of a gradual acceptance and then a waiting. And I think in the meantime, you're doing an excellent job caring for him. And yeah, definitely keep the fresh produce coming because now I'm thinking of celery again. Maybe more crunchy things, crunchy,
Okay.
fresh things.
He loves apples. He loves strawberries. And now I'm gonna think of celery. I'm gonna buy some later.
You'll have to update me if he enjoys it. That is a part of the gift I'm learning. Sometimes I'll see a red ball, and it could mean that that dog loves red balls, or it could just mean that their favorite toy is red. So learning which things to take literally and which things are to represent another idea has been a cool part of my gift kind of unfurling. So definitely let me know if the celery was on point or if he was just wanting that fresh produce in general.
Okay. Well, I sensed he really enjoyed these fresh fruit and vegetables. So yeah, and he really likes salads. So salad.
So sweet. Oh,
Mm.
do you hold him ever? Does he love to lay kind of just right here on your chest?
I hold him, yeah. Not here anymore, but at the beginning, like uh, he was able to. Now he's really
Mm,
just chilling. It doesn't move much.
I see. He
Yeah.
loved feeling your heartbeat. I
Oh,
think that was that spot there. Yeah. I think you have a very calm energy and he's appreciated that. The littler creatures, they need a very calm presence around them, and I think you've provided that for him. He's very grateful.
oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for saying that. Okay, well, I'll definitely go and buy some more fresh stuff for him. Nice.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be there. Happy to witness another loving relationship between creatures.
Thanks. So you said he's happy, yeah? You perceived is being happy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Content, honestly. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I also believe we can learn a lot from animals, because so many of them are content with very little things, just lying on the sun, eating some food, just wrap themselves around the blanket. I think we should learn.
Mhm.
We can learn a lot from them.
I agree. It is funny when I meet animals that are very particular about their needs, because then it's kind of funny. They have a lot of preferences, but for the most part, you're so right. Like, it's the simple thing. Honestly, at any given moment, dogs are typically thinking about treats and toys. And like, I'll be at an event or something and people bring their dogs and I just think peanut butter, dog treats, frisbees, like just popping off all around me. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's
There
hilarious.
is beauty and peace in simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you, with with people that passed away, do you feel like, is it because I talked to other friends and people that I know, they're also mediums and they're psychic mediums too, not necessarily with animal, but with humans or ex-humans. And uh, they said, many of them, that actually mediumship is quite draining for their energy, is more draining than actually just reading my own energy right now. So they have to turn it off after every session, and they cannot do too many sessions per day. And I was wondering if it's the same for you.
It is actually. I got the start of my career was doing events like metaphysical fairs that would travel around. And I started with just tarot. And I learned after 3 days of doing, 18 plus readings in a day, yeah, I definitely burn out.
Hmm.
And with the mediumship, I've been offering at these events as well. And I have learned that you either need really strong boundaries, like the price needs to be what you need it to be to feel good about it, and you need to be setting limitations on the time and keeping up with the time, because I don't previously I didn't set times for my readings. They would just go as they went. But then that's where you get, I hate to say energy vampires, because it's vulnerable people that are looking to be heard, but you do get a point where you can tell the session has ended and you've done your job, but the person still needs like some more for you. They want more from you. So you have to be very strict with your boundaries while you're doing these things. And I have started to wonder, or I'm in the process of thinking, how many clients in a day can I fit reasonably? And there is a limit. We all have our limits. And I do have to do a lot of energy cleansing and grounding before and especially after. And I was getting to a point where these 2 and 3 day events, I'm just kind of phasing out of them and moving into the private client route. And I feel that it's better for the service overall because I'm coming to it with fresh energy and I'm able to invest even more, and there's not, so much going on around us.
Hmm.
So it's absolutely true. And you think of it when you deal with the living, like not everyone can go to big crowd events every week. It varies from person to person, and talking to the dead is a lot like talking to the living. So think about your own social battery. It'll probably be pretty similar when you're kind of in that channel space. Because when I'm in the channel space, I feel energized. It's not until I get home and sit down for the first time that I'm like, oh, and I kind of crash and everything. So I've been having to be very mindful of that, or learning to be mindful of that, because it's things you don't realize until you're doing it, and you're doing it a lot.
Hmm.
But it's kind of a trade-off, because at the same time your connection's growing, your gift is growing, you're living your purpose. So it's very fulfilling, but it is definitely challenging. I
Yeah.
like being challenged, and it's challenges that are in a realm that deeply interests me. So
Yeah.
it works out for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, lots of hygiene, shaking the energy off before you step in through the door, taking a shower and letting that take the negativity and the grief off of you. I do a lot of calling my energy back to myself, but you do have to be really strict, because otherwise I feel like burnout would be inevitable. But that's kind of true for anything. You have to have boundaries around the thing that you're doing.
I was about to say, like, those things that you're sharing can be useful for everyone after a day in the office, Like, you work
Yeah.
in the office, you come back, like, take a shower, shake it off, put your feet in the grass, and really cleanse your energy. Yeah, is important for everything. Thanks. I was curious. And yeah,
It
totally.
is interesting. Honestly, the work that you do with the living client is more of an energetic toll, because you're seeing their wounds, you're helping them tend to their grief, and you're seeing their maybe their self-limiting beliefs, or and having to one, calm my empathy down, because just because I did this work or this feels good for me does not mean that that's something they need to hear. Like, that's another thing, being an open channel and having to discern what the person is able to receive right then, and learning how to pull back when they're not receiving you. So
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic, like the channeling is the easy part. But again, it's worthy work, and it affirms my own values, and I love what I do. Wouldn't change it. But of course, boundaries and all that is going to be really key.
Yeah, in everything we do. Yeah,
Hmm.
those type of work, you know.
And that's just listening to your body. So, which is one of my values. So it's cool. Like, even as I navigate the struggles or the challenges, it still brings me deeper into alignment and deeper into connection with myself.
Yeah, and I think those are challenges that we are willing to face to, working on our purpose and, our
Exactly.
Dharma, whatever you call it. So, yeah, I understand that people completely burn out if they keep feeling drained in a job that they also hate, and that's challenges too. But I think if you find something that you like, it's important to know there will be challenges anyway, but at least I think you're more willing to face them because you feel also very fulfilled doing it.
That balance is
Yeah.
so imperative.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask you if there is any final thing that you would like to share, maybe the next events that you have. We can put in the show notes your website or email or whatever you want to share. So
Yeah.
thank you.
So I am excited. I actually recently added an advice column onto my website, so people can come and submit inquiries, questions, or situations, things that they're going through, and you can submit anonymously if you'd like. And then I'm going to be responding with videos and messages. And I've always wanted to do this. Like, I've loved the Dear So and so advice columns that you saw in movies all over the early 2000s. But now it's anything really, because I do work with tarot and oracle. I can just offer channeled messages and things like that. But also, if you're trying to troubleshoot your animal husbandry, or, you're trying to figure out if the messages you've been getting are from your, whatever might cross your mind, it's a way that I'm here for you. And I'm very excited to do that and to be more in my community, serving my community in a way that's very accessible to everyone. So I hope you'll check out. It's magicalmars.com, and it's Ask Mars. So I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to my podcast. It was really great to have a chat with you.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. Thanks everyone for listening. I really love what you're doing here. You're my people. Glad to have met.
Same. Thank you so much. And hopefully I will meet you in person at some point.
Oh, I would love that. We'll co-work at Insomnia.
Oh, that would be amazing. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll catch you at the next episode. Bye.